What if the most powerful people in history never had to fight to win? What if real domination happens in silence? Think about that for a second. We grow up believing power belongs to those who speak the loudest, fight the hardest, and show the most strength. But what if that belief is a lie designed to keep you distracted, while the true strategists, the ones who rule quietly, pull the strings from behind the curtain? Machiavelli understood something most people still refuse to see, that the greatest form of power is the ability to win without fighting, the ability to control outcomes without ever raising your voice or even lifting a finger. This is the essence of the silent power, a force built not on aggression, but on awareness. The kind of power that doesn't announce itself, doesn't seek approval, and doesn't need recognition. It simply moves beneath the surface, shaping the game while everyone else is too busy playing it. You've seen it before, haven't you? In the workplace, in relationships, in politics. The one who stays calm, who says less, who observes instead of reacting, always seems to end up ahead. Why does that happen? What kind of psychological control allows someone to dominate through silence? That's what this video is about. We're going to enter the world of Machiavelli's dark psychology, a place where influence replaces force and emotional control becomes the ultimate weapon. Machiavelli believed that people reveal their weaknesses through noise, through emotion, through reaction. But the one who stays silent, who studies before striking, owns the battlefield before the fight even begins. You've probably experienced moments like that, times when you felt the need to defend yourself, to react instantly, to prove something, and yet deep down you knew that silence would have been far more powerful. The truth is, the silent power of winning without fighting isn't just about others, it's about mastering yourself. It's about learning the rare art of restraint, the discipline to let others expose themselves while you maintain control. Every word you don't say, every reaction you hold back, every emotion you redirect, it all becomes energy stored, ready to be used with precision. Fewer moves, greater impact. That's the Machiavellian way. So what happens when you stop playing the obvious game? When you stop reacting to every challenge and start shaping the environment instead? What happens when silence becomes your strategy, not your weakness? The answer might change how you see power, people, and even yourself. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may challenge everything you think you know about strength, dominance, and control. Let's begin to uncover the quiet force that conquers without confrontation, the hidden truth behind the silent power of winning without fighting. Maybe you've already felt this truth somewhere in your own life, that moment when silence spoke louder than words, when restraint gave you more control than any argument ever could. Think about it. How many times have you realized that reacting only made things worse, while holding your ground in silence shifted the entire dynamic in your favor? These are the small psychological victories that reveal who truly understands the game of power. If this idea resonates with you, if something inside you recognizes the strength hidden behind composure, take a moment to share your experience in the comments. Tell me how silence has worked for you, or how breaking it too soon might have changed everything. Your story might help someone else see what real strength looks like. And if you've felt that this message connects with something deep in you, with that part that craves more control, more awareness, more understanding of human nature, then leave a like on this video. It might seem like a small action, but it tells the algorithm that this kind of content matters, that wisdom and depth still have a place in this digital world. Most of all, if you want to keep exploring the hidden layers of the mind, the art of strategy, and the psychology behind power, make sure you subscribe to Legacy Wisdom. This channel exists for thinkers like you, people who see beyond the surface and want to master the forces that shape behavior, influence, and destiny. Your presence here isn't just support, it's part of something greater, a growing community of minds who understand that knowledge is the sharpest weapon of all. So stay close, because what comes next will take us even deeper into the mechanisms that allow silent strategists to win long before the fight even begins. Power is never what it seems. Most people think it's about being louder, stronger, more visible. They mistake attention for authority and confuse movement with progress. But Machiavelli knew something deeper, something uncomfortable. He understood that true power doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't fight for recognition. It waits, it watches, and when the moment is right, it moves with precision. Those who shout their strength are often the weakest, because their noise is nothing more than fear disguised as confidence. Silence, on the other hand, is the language of those who are certain of their influence, The hidden law of silent power is built on patience and perception. It's about seeing the truth behind people's actions and understanding what drives them long before they understand it themselves. Every word, every reaction, every emotion someone reveals is a map of their inner world, and the one who stays silent long enough to read that map gains control, not through force, but through understanding. That's the foundation of Machiavellian psychology. Influence is born in observation, not confrontation. Think about it. The louder someone becomes, the more they reveal. Their emotions betray them. Their need to be right exposes their insecurity. But the one who remains calm, quiet and centered becomes untouchable. Silence is not submission. It's strategy. It's a decision to conserve energy, to let others waste theirs. It's a weapon that turns chaos into clarity. In every conversation, every negotiation, every conflict, the one who can stay composed holds the upper hand, because silence disarms ego. It forces others to fill the space with their own noise, revealing the truth they try to hide. This form of restraint requires strength most people will never develop. It demands discipline, the ability to resist the urge to react, to speak, to defend yourself. But when you do, you begin to notice something powerful. People start revealing their intentions without realizing it. The less you say, the more you see. And the more you see, the more control you gain. That's how silent power operates. Beneath the surface, invisible yet undeniable, guiding outcomes without ever showing its hand. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, into the psychology behind restraint and the transformation that happens when you stop reacting and start observing. Because what's hidden beneath silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy, awareness, and control over the unseen mechanisms of influence. Write in the comments, silence is power. To win without fighting is to make others defeat themselves. That's the secret most people never grasp, because they're too focused on proving their strength instead of positioning their power. Machiavelli understood that conflict isn't won on the battlefield. It's won in the mind, long before the first move is made. When you can shape how others see the world, you no longer need to fight them. They will act exactly as you want, while believing it was their own decision. That's the true art of psychological warfare, quiet, precise, and invisible to those still trapped in emotional battles. Winning without fighting doesn't mean avoiding confrontation out of fear. It means mastering the timing of influence so completely that the confrontation becomes unnecessary. Machiavelli believed that perception, not force, determines control. When people perceive you as calm, certain, and unshakable, they unconsciously surrender power to you. The human mind is wired to follow confidence and resist chaos, so when you remove emotional noise and replace it with stillness, you disrupt the rhythm of your opponent. They start questioning themselves, second-guessing their moves, weakening their stance, all while you remain centered. This is manipulation in its purest form, not through deceit but through awareness. It's the ability to plant an idea so subtly that others believe it came from their own mind. The one who masters this art doesn't need to fight for control. Control simply gravitates toward them. In relationships, in leadership, in negotiation, the principle is the same. Whoever defines the frame of reality defines the outcome, and the frame is always set by the one who stays emotionally detached. Machiavelli's genius was his understanding of timing. He knew that power is never about acting first, it's about acting last. When the noise has faded and clarity appears, by allowing others to rush, to speak, to reveal themselves, he positioned his mind above the chaos. He let them burn energy in motion while he conserved his in silence. And when the moment came, he moved once, precisely, decisively, and that was enough. Victory without confrontation is not a fantasy. It's a discipline. It's the mastery of human nature itself. The more you understand how people think, fear, and react, the less you need to prove anything. Because when you know how to make others defeat themselves, you've already won the war they're still preparing to fight. Now I want to go even deeper into this silent battlefield, into the unseen patterns that determine who leads and who follows, who manipulates and who gets manipulated. Because once you see how the game is played beneath the surface, you can never unsee it. A true strategist doesn't walk into chaos, he shapes it. That's the difference between those who react to life and those who rule it. Most people rush into every situation desperate to fix, defend, or prove something, and in doing so, they step directly into traps built by their own emotions. Machiavelli knew that control isn't about stepping onto the battlefield first, it's about designing the battlefield itself. The one who shapes the environment before the conflict even begins is already in command. Every move that follows becomes predictable, every reaction guided, every outcome silently predetermined. To control the battlefield without stepping on it, you must first master positioning. Power isn't about proximity, it's about perspective. The person who stands back, who watches instead of rushing in, can see every piece in motion. They can read intention, energy, and opportunity long before others notice them. That distance creates clarity, and clarity creates leverage. The one who sees the full map doesn't need to move impulsively because every decision is made with precision. Preparation is the second pillar. While others rely on luck or emotion, the strategist relies on structure. Machiavelli's writings remind us that foresight is the purest form of dominance, anticipating reactions, setting traps through perception, and crafting outcomes before anyone realizes they're being directed. He believed that the best way to win was to make others believe they were winning until it no longer mattered. Preparation isn't about planning for what you want, it's about being ready for what others will inevitably do. Then comes emotional distance, the invisible armor of silent power. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means you've risen above the noise. Emotions cloud strategy, and strategy dies where ego begins. When you detach, you stop playing for validation and start playing for influence. Every insult, every challenge, every act of aggression loses its grip on you because it no longer triggers the reaction it seeks. You become the calm center of chaos, the one who decides when, where, and how things unfold. To shape chaos, you don't fight it. You observe it, understand it, and guide it like a current. Most people drown in emotion. The strategist learns to float above it. That's why silent individuals often appear mysterious or intimidating. It's not magic, it's awareness. Their silence makes others project their own fears and insecurities, giving them control without effort. Now I want to go even deeper into this hidden dynamic, into how perception itself becomes a weapon, and how mastering the way others see you gives you dominance long before they realize what's happening. You don't need to be powerful. You only need to appear powerful. Machiavelli understood that perception is the most efficient form of control because people don't respond to reality. They respond to what they believe is real. The world doesn't reward truth. It rewards presence. Those who master the art of perception shape how others see them, and therefore how others behave around them. That is why image, composure, and mystery often create more influence than any display of strength. Power isn't about domination through force. It's about the invisible persuasion of the mind. When you appear confident, calm, and unshakable, you trigger something ancient in human psychology: submission to perceived authority. People instinctively follow certainty because it provides safety. They crave direction, and the one who seems to possess it becomes the leader, regardless of whether they actually have control. That's the genius of Machiavellian thinking. You don't need to fight for leadership, you need to make others offer it to you. Confidence is not arrogance, it's quiet certainty. The ability to move without hesitation, to speak without seeking approval, to maintain control even when everything around you is unstable. Calmness reinforces that illusion. The calmer you appear in chaos, the more others assume you understand something they don't. They start looking to you for cues, unconsciously accepting your authority, and unpredictability completes the formula. When people can't predict your next move, they stop trying to challenge you. Their uncertainty becomes your shield, their curiosity your weapon. Machiavelli believed that a leader's greatest tool was theatrical. He advised rulers to perform virtue, not necessarily to possess it, because to the human eye, perception is truth. People rarely investigate what they want to believe. So if you embody strength, composure, and focus, even if you're still becoming those things internally, others will treat you as if you already are. Their belief reinforces your behavior, creating a self-fulfilling loop of power. Managing perception isn't manipulation, it's strategy. It's understanding that every social interaction is a stage, and the most prepared actor wins. Your posture, your tone, your silence, all of it communicates. The less you explain, the more they project, and the more they project, the more they build the version of you that serves their own needs, a version you can then control. Now I want to go even deeper into this illusion, into how mastering emotional restraint and silence strengthens that perception, turning inner discipline into outer dominance, the kind that doesn't just influence others, but transforms the way you see yourself. Every reaction reveals your weakness. Every silence hides your next move. The moment you understand this, your entire perception of power begins to change. Most people believe control means dominating others, but Machiavelli knew the truth. Control begins with mastering yourself. The ability to remain composed when provoked, calm when attacked, and silent when others demand a reaction is the foundation of real authority. Inner silence isn't the absence of emotion. It's the art of directing it. It's knowing when to hold, when to release, and when to let others expose themselves through their own lack of restraint. Emotional discipline is what separates the impulsive from the powerful. When you react, you give the other person control of your state. You confirm that their behavior affects you, that they've succeeded in pulling you out of position. But when you stay still, when you respond with nothing but quiet presence, you reverse the dynamic. They start questioning themselves. Doubt replaces confidence. They feel small in the face of your composure because silence forces them to confront their own instability. That's psychological warfare at its most refined, not through words, but through energy. Delayed reactions are the weapon of those who think before they strike. When you learn to wait, you see more. You start noticing details others miss. Their tone, their insecurities, their patterns. You realize that most conflicts resolve themselves if you simply don't feed them. The world expects instant responses, emotional outbursts, and constant defense. But restraint breaks that rhythm. It creates tension that only you can release, giving you control over the pace and direction of every interaction. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in his understanding of chaos. He knew that emotions are the easiest way to manipulate people, and therefore the easiest way to be manipulated. By mastering emotional restraint, you become immune to provocation. Insults, rejection, disrespect. They lose their power over you, not because you don't feel them, but because you refuse to let them dictate your behavior. That is the psychological armor of Machiavellian power, the calmness that disarms aggression, the silence that speaks louder than rage. This discipline doesn't make you passive, it makes you strategic. You stop wasting energy proving yourself and start using it to observe, to plan, to act only when the impact is inevitable. The one who controls emotion controls timing, and the one who controls timing controls everything. Now I want to go even deeper into this mastery, into the unseen game of influence that unfolds when silence becomes not just defense, but the most dangerous form of attack. Real influence is invisible. The strongest leaders rarely announce their authority, and the most effective manipulators never seem to be in control. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone, that the greatest power is exercised not through commands but through suggestion. They plant ideas, not orders. The silent strategist doesn't tell people what to do. He shapes the environment so that they choose to do it themselves. It's not coercion, it's alignment, achieved through the delicate art of guiding perception and emotion without leaving fingerprints. To play this invisible game, you must first master the ability to read people beyond their words. Every human being carries unconscious patterns, fears, desires, needs, for validation. And those patterns are like strings waiting to be pulled. The Machiavellian mind studies those patterns quietly, patiently, learning what drives each person until influence becomes effortless. You don't need to push when you know which way the current flows. Subtle influence begins with attention, not to what people say, but to what they avoid saying, what they hesitate to reveal. That silence tells you everything. This is where Machiavelli meets Jung. Jung called it the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche that shapes our choices without our awareness. The strategist uses this knowledge as a compass. By understanding his own shadow, he stops being ruled by it. By understanding the shadows of others, he learns to navigate theirs. Influence then becomes psychological dance, not domination but direction. You're not forcing anyone's hand, you're showing them the path they were already inclined to take and letting them believe it was their idea all along. Appearing passive is part of the illusion. When you seem detached, others drop their defenses. They project trust, openness, even admiration, because they don't feel threatened. Meanwhile, you're observing the invisible exchanges, the tone, the micro-expressions, the energy shifts. Every interaction becomes data, and every reaction becomes a window into someone's internal structure. That's the real game, the one played beneath the surface, where silence manipulates louder than speech ever could. In this, Realm influence isn't about force, it's about flow. It's about aligning with human psychology so deeply that you can steer without being seen, persuade without speaking, and lead without commanding. When others think they're making choices freely, yet every choice benefits your vision. That's mastery. Now I want to go even deeper into this shadow dynamic, into how opposition itself can be turned into obedience, and how the energy of those who resist you can be redirected to serve your purpose, without them ever realizing it. The master of power doesn't fight resistance, he converts it. Opponents are not obstacles to be annihilated, they are raw material to be shaped. When you learn to redirect opposition into obedience, you stop wasting energy on destruction and start turning friction into fuel. The first step is to recognize the emotional levers that drive resistance: ego, pride, fear, and identity. These are not weaknesses to exploit recklessly, they are predictable pressures that, when handled with skill, will bend behavior without breaking a person. Start by giving pride a place to land. People resist when they feel humiliated or cornered. Offer a face-saving path that lets them claim victory while you steer the outcome. A small concession, framed as their idea, can transform a rival into an ally. This is not surrender, it's strategic redirection. Pride is often the currency of compliance. Accept it, honor it, and watch the energy shift from opposition to cooperation. Fear can be converted into compliance when reframed as responsibility or inevitability. Instead of threatening, illuminate consequences gently and pair them with a pathway that preserves dignity. People will follow the way that promises stability and identity preservation. Use timing, introduce the consequence after a display of calm competence, then present the solution as the only sensible choice. The mind, eager for certainty, will prefer your path. Leverage reciprocity subtly, small, genuine. Favors or gestures of respect create psychological debt. Opponents who feel seen and acknowledged are less motivated to undermine you. Praise disarms far better than confrontation. Compliment a rival's competence, then slowly guide their focus toward an outcome that benefits you both. This co-option creates dependence without coercion. Misdirection and reframing are essential. Change the frame of the argument so that resistance appears costly and acquiescence appears wise. Redirect their energy into tasks that feed your agenda. Give them a role that satisfies their ego while removing their ability to obstruct. When people invest themselves in a direction you've seeded, their involvement becomes self-reinforcing. Finally, convert conflict into routine through institutionalization. Set norms, rituals, or expectations that channel behavior predictably. When opposition becomes part of a predictable pattern, it loses volatility and becomes manageable. Transform the adversary's volatility into a predictable resource. Now I want to go even deeper into how you can apply these methods ethically and effectively in real situations, in leadership, negotiation, and relationships, so that resistance becomes one of your most reliable instruments. In business, relationships, or politics, the one who speaks less usually controls more. It's not about silence for its own sake, but about mastering the psychology of presence, the ability to command attention without chasing it. In today's world of noise, where everyone is shouting to be heard, true influence belongs to those who can hold their ground in quiet certainty. Machiavelli's silent power isn't an ancient relic, it's a timeless strategy that has only grown more valuable in the age of distraction. The person who can remain calm in chaos, composed under pressure, and deliberate in speech stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. In business, the modern strategist uses silence as negotiation armor. Every pause is a psychological mirror. It forces the other person to reveal their insecurities, to fill the space with justifications, and often to make concessions. The calm negotiator wins not by arguing, but by listening, absorbing the opponent's energy, analyzing it, and redirecting it. When you speak only when necessary, every word becomes weightier, every statement more respected. The less you say, the more authority your silence gains. In relationships, emotional restraint becomes emotional intelligence. You don't react to every trigger, you read patterns. You don't prove your worth through words, you demonstrate it through consistency. In a world that rewards immediate emotional expression, being unshaken is magnetic. People are drawn to stability, to those who seem unbothered by chaos. That sense of inner calm signals security and strength, traits that dominate both attraction and respect. In leadership, silent power translates to clarity. When others panic, the leader observes. When others rush, the leader times the move. Modern power isn't about visibility, it's about gravity, the quiet force that pulls others toward your center. This presence is built through discipline, speaking with purpose, controlling tone, mastering body language, and eliminating the need for validation. Every gesture becomes intentional, every reaction measured. Technology and social media have made attention the new battlefield. Everyone is fighting to be seen, but the one who knows when to stay silent controls the rhythm of the game. Silence, used deliberately, becomes a signal of mastery, a reminder that power doesn't need to perform. Now I want to go even deeper into the heart of this transformation, into how mastering silence and emotional restraint not only influences others, but reshapes your own identity, creating the kind of inner authority that radiates without effort. Machiavelli's true genius wasn't cruelty, it was awareness. The awareness that power doesn't begin in the moment of action, but in the stillness that precedes it. The ability to win before the battle even begins. He saw the world as a living game board of perception, emotion, and timing, and he understood that the mind, not the sword, determines the outcome. His legacy isn't about manipulation for its own sake. It's about the psychology of mastery, the art of control without chaos. To those who think Machiavelli taught ruthlessness, they miss the essence of his wisdom. He taught restraint. He taught precision. He taught the value of silence as both shield and weapon. Throughout history, the greatest strategists, from generals to philosophers, all shared this truth. Victory begins long before movement. The one who can remain calm while others lose themselves to noise gains an advantage that cannot be measured by status or force. In the quiet mind lives the ability to predict, to influence, and to command without resistance. That is why silence is not weakness, it's preparation. It's a gathering of energy, a moment when intention sharpens into clarity. The loudest voice rarely wins, it only exhausts itself. But the one who speaks last, from a place of full awareness, wins completely. To practice silent power in your own life is to reverse the conditioning of the modern world. We are taught to react, to defend, to explain. We are told that visibility equals importance, that speed equals success. Yet the truth is the opposite. The person who can think slowly, act deliberately, and resist the demand for constant expression becomes unpredictable and therefore untouchable. Inner silence allows you to read what others miss. Tone, hesitation, the emotional undercurrent behind every decision. You stop competing for attention and start controlling attention. You become the calm center of the storm. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It begins with observation, watching yourself, catching the instant before reaction, and choosing restraint. Over time, that space between impulse and response grows wider. That's where power lives. The discipline of holding back words, the strength to let others reveal themselves, the awareness to read before responding. These are the qualities that turn ordinary minds into strategic ones. Machiavelli's silent strategist isn't a manipulator hiding in the shadows. He is the person who has mastered his own shadow. He doesn't seek control because he fears chaos. He embodies control because he understands it. The quiet confidence that comes from this mastery can't be faked. It radiates naturally, drawing respect without demand. When you cultivate it, people start sensing something about you. They can't explain it, but they feel it. Presence, gravity, command. That's the legacy of silent power. And maybe that's why the world still misunderstands Machiavelli. They read his words as dangerous because they fear what they don't control. Awareness. But awareness is not cruelty. It's consciousness. It's seeing the invisible threads that tie human behavior together and learning how to move through them with intention. If you want to understand how the human mind bends to power, you must first learn silence. Learn to listen before reacting, to think before defending, to wait before moving. Because in the stillness between stimulus and response lies the space where influence is born. If this message awakened something in you, subscribe to Legacy Wisdom. This space is for those who choose mastery over noise, awareness over impulse, depth over distraction. And if you believe that true strength doesn't need to be loud, leave a comment below saying power, a reminder that real dominance begins in silence. If you made it here, it means something in this message resonated with you. Maybe a reminder about control, awareness, or the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. If that's the case, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Legacy Wisdom, not because of numbers or algorithms, but because this space exists for people who think like you, those who value understanding over noise and depth over distraction. Leave a like if this spoke to you in some way. It helps this message reach others who might need to hear it too. And if you stayed with me until the end, write in the comments, "I'm still here." It's a simple way to let me know this idea found its place in your mind, that you're walking the same path toward awareness and silent mastery. There's another video right here that continues this journey, one that dives even deeper into the psychology of power and control. Click on it and keep exploring with me. The path of understanding doesn't end here. It only gets clearer with every step.